Welcome. My name is Brandon. Please join me on this tour of Maplewood Mall in Maplewood, Minnesota. Maplewood is an oddly shaped suburb that surrounds St. Paul on the east and north sides. The town is literally a mile wide on the east. The north side of the town ranges from the shortest length of a half mile to 3 miles at its longest. Maplewood Mall sits right at the northern edge of the town by Interstate 694. I sat on this footage for 10 months because despite what you may have heard, this mall ain't dead. You'll see for yourself shortly. I even returned on October 23rd, 2021 to check up on it. It was doing even better. I am glad to finally share Maplewood because this is my childhood mall. I have so many fond memories. If you are familiar with my work, you will know that I normally share a mall's history and maybe some personal anecdotes. Because this is my childhood mall, I'm going to mix the two and talk about the problem with human memory. I'm going to share facts and a few I swears and I remembers, as in I remember the layout like this, but I don't have the facts to back it up. The original owners, Hallmark Development Company, a subsidiary of Sears, Roebuck & Company, announced a new mall on January 23rd, 1968. The mall opened on July 31st, 1974. Hallmark then opened the larger Eden Prairie Center in 1976 and the even larger Burnsville Center in 1977. Maplewood started with just 2 anchors, Sears and Powers. Compare this to Ridgedale, which opened the same year with 4 anchors. Other original tenants included Nutrition World, Farrell's, Shack Electronics, B. Dalton, Spencer Gifts, Wicks and Sticks, Fanny Farmer, Claire's Boutique, Goodwin Jewelers, Walden Books, and Hickory Farms. A February 27, 1974 article from the Pioneer Press stated in a large font, "Mall adds Justers and Field Schlick units." Even if you are a Minnesotan, you might be thinking, I've never heard of those businesses. Why did they demand such a large headline? Justers started out in 1908 when founder P.B. Juster went door to door in the rich neighborhoods of North and South Dakota, selling tailored suits. He would take measurements, send the suits to Chicago for tailoring, and then deliver them to customers himself. Juster and his brother later opened a small business in Aberdeen, South Dakota. Juster later then moved to Minneapolis, with his brother following him. They changed their business model to ready-made clothing. In the 1950s, the business expanded throughout the Twin Cities after making $1 million in sales. They took a gamble and opened in a newfangled shopping center in Edina, Minnesota, called Southdale. The Maplewood location survived around a decade and closed sometime in the 1980s. Juster's expanded into Rochester, Minnesota in 1989 with a store in the Center Place Galleria. I do not have a closing date for Juster's. The last article I found about them dates back to 1990. When I was very young, I believe you could exit the mall where the Kohl's is now. I do know that this anchor was a later addition, and I believe that they moved the hallway to the left when they built it. Getting back to those 2 tenants, Field Schlick started as Daniel Ingersoll's Dry Goods in 1855 in St. Paul, Minnesota. The business sold materials to make clothing and 3 sizes of shoes, small, medium, and large. The store changed its name to Ingersoll and Mahler in 1882 when a partner joined the business. A decade later, partners Frank Schlick and J.H. Field acquired interest in the store. They changed the name of the business to Field Schlick in 1889. The formerly simple store was now a block long in downtown St. Paul. In the latter half of the 20th century, Field Schlick expanded into other neighborhoods. In addition to Maplewood, they had locations in Highland Park and Harmar Mall. Fieldschlick closed their downtown store in 1979. The other stores closed soon after. Getting back to the topic of memories versus proven facts, I swear there used to be a spiral staircase right outside of the Kohl's. It would have been where the children's play area is today. The mall removed it and built the staircase that we are heading down right now. They did this when they expanded the length of the Kohl's on the first floor. Alright, let's check out that Kohl's expansion I mentioned. Let's turn around, and wait a minute, it's way the heck back there, that can't be right. I was ready to show you the expansion in my footage, but it's just not there. The Kohl's is how I remember it as a child. How are my teenage memories weaker than my childhood memories? Looking closer, there are some clues that do back up my memories. Look at these really plain walls. Where are the storefronts? Another thing that makes me think my memory is correct is the concept of traffic flow. It would make more sense to give people entering from the B entrance, that black hallway, the ability to go to first floor tenants below the food court without making them backtrack. Check out this map of the mall. I believe this whole area was Kohl's based on the layout and lack of tenants that I mentioned earlier. I also swear there was a computer store where one of the walls is now. I loved playing computer games in the mall because I did not have to pay for them. I believe there was also one right upstairs by the exit. A tenant that we will see shortly called Nefertiti is now the African American Truce Museum. The owner, Mackay Lewis Frost, wanted to give shoppers a place to take a break and learn history. He also intended to create a safe space for youth at the mall, a space where they can resolve conflicts. I have a link to the museum's website in this video's description if you want to learn more. Oh, the center area. This was something else until the 1980s. When I was a kid, this was filled with red carpeted ramps that took people between floors. And here is how the area looked right after the first remodel in 1988. Here is an entrance after the remodel. I actually expected the entrance to look like this when I arrived. I had been away just so long. I gotta tell you though, I miss those ramps. Below the ramps was a lowered area containing several food vendors and tables. Would we have called it a food court in 1974? I remember visiting the Baskin-Robbins. Well, I don't remember this. Someone my parents' age said the manager was very rude to his employees. During the remodel, mall management moved the food court to its current location. Yeah, they took my ramps, but they added that carousel. Isn't that better? Well, let me ask you, are carousel rides free? No. It was free to run up and down the ramps. Alright, back to mall history, and then we can take another break. I promise. Powers became a Donaldson's in 1985 when Allied Stores acquired 6 of the 7 Power stores to increase their Donaldson's brand to compete with Dayton's. In 1987, Kempo Corp bought out the Allied Store Corp, but due to the debt from the acquisition, they had to sell off their Donaldson stores. Carson Pirie Scott & Co. acquired the brand for $163.5 million, changing the name to Carson Pirie Scott & Co. in April 1988. In 1986, Maplewood added their third anchor called Main Street Department Store. It became a Kohl's in 1988. Alright, let's take a break from my talking and ride the escalator. In 1995, Carson Perry Scott rebranded to Dayton's. The following year, Maplewood built a fourth anchor, Mervyn's. Around the turn of the century, the mall added a Barnes & Noble, creating a fifth anchor. Before Barnes & Noble, the location was a Circus Pizza. I went to several birthday parties there. I remember all the arcade games and going on rides. Fun times. At one party, I walked in the dining room and what's this? The gorilla and his band from Showbiz Pizza are now playing here. That's so cool. I didn't realize Rock-afire Explosion could be sold. That'd be as ridiculous as Sonic the Hedgehog on Nintendo. It was fun seeing the animatronics again. So what happened to Circus Pizza? I found an article dated February 1999 with the headline, "Circus Pizza is ready for Chuck E. Cheese's return." There are some good quotes from this article. Permit me to read a few. Chuck E. Cheese is coming back to Minnesota after roughly a decade-long hiatus, but this time it will have a virtual monkey on its back. Circus Pizza has a weapon in the war of birthday parties. Enter Marty Monkey, a three-dimensional computer-generated animated character who can sing, talk, and interact with children and grown-ups on a 100-square-foot video wall. You really have to see it to believe it, said Amos Hellicher, the 81-year-old co-founder of the company. It's a brand new innovation idea that is far better than any other in the country, like Chuck E. Cheese's or Discovery Zone. Circus Pizza's president, Norman Pink, said that kids today are extremely computer savvy, and the target market is demanding a character that interacts with, not just entertains them. You look at the 3-year-old today, and they may not be computer literate, but they're very computer friendly. They can really relate to the show and talk to the character. The two chains are already going head to head. Chuck E. Cheese opened a store in Burnsville right across from the Burnsville Circus Pizza. The following August, Chuck E. Cheese bought out Circus Pizza. Hey, check out this commercial I found of Circus Pizza. And I don't remember the clown being this creepy. At least Chuck E. Cheese has pupils. Maybe Showbiz and Circus Pizza are better left as fuzzy memories. My last big memories of Maplewood Mall were eating at the food court my senior year of high school. And then I left for 4 years to attend college in Duluth. I came back to the Twin Cities and moved to Minneapolis. After that, I think I've only visited the mall 3 to 5 times, including these 2 visits. Alright, enough about me. Let's get back to the mall's history. Dayton's became Marshall Field's in 2001, and then Simon acquired the mall in 2002. Mervyn's closed in 2004, and JCPenney moved in not long after that. Marshall Field's became Macy's in 2006, and is still that way today. Maplewood went through a second remodel in 2011 to what you see in the footage. In 2014, Simon Properties spun off Washington Prime Group into its own independent company. Washington then became owner of Maplewood Mall. Jumping ahead several years, Washington Prime Group filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in June 2021. They went private the following September. Look at this, Maplewood is so not dead, it has an FYE. Side note, this is one of the 2 remaining FYEs in Minnesota. The other is in Miller Hill Mall in Duluth. FYE wasn't here in January. They closed their Burnsville location in June, and then opened this location the same month. I mentioned incorrect memories earlier. They make researching malls very difficult. I have visited forums where someone will say, "Hey, remember this tenant?" And others will chime in with, No, that was in the mall up the road." I myself have my own wrong memories. I remember Mervyn's being outside of Macy's instead of Sears. I also remember Powers being where Kohl's is. and these are obviously false memories that are just knocking around, taking up space in my head. So why do people say Maplewood Mall is dead? I have two theories. First would be the large Sears. The Sears Auto Center was built into the mall instead of as a separate building, making the location gigantic. The owners have not done anything to distract from the emptiness other than plunk down a couple of chairs. Second would be the decline in occupancy. In 2019, occupancy was at a pretty decent 84%, but it was all the way up at 95% a mere 5 years earlier, in 2014. So am I really upset by all the updates to the mall? No, I understand change has to occur. I am happy that Maplewood still has a decent occupancy, and that I can visit it whenever I want to reminisce. I can't say the same about Oakdale Mall, the place where I won third in the Cub Scout Pinewood Derby and took driver's ed. That building is lost to time. Someone didn't get approval to name this place Pac-Man Zone. It's now called At the Pier Arcade. See that bar ahead on the right? I played Super Mario World in that shop. Unlike Target, Super Nintendo didn't have a 5-minute hard reset, so I got far enough into the game to play with the cape. Aw, come on, Dad, I almost figured out how to make Mario fly. The bar had left the mall by the time I returned in October, but a sushi counter was already announced to take its place. In March 2018, one of these animals, a pig to be exact, caught fire at the mall. The fire department said it was an electrical malfunction. Roast pork. Sorry, I shouldn't joke. But nobody was hurt, and there have not been any incidents since. One of these tenants on the left was a Mr. Bulky. They had large plastic containers full of all kinds of candy. I remember the gummies the most. Also, it took me until my 30s to realize the name meant bulk candy and wasn't the owner's name. I hope you have enjoyed this tour of Maplewood Mall. Before I go, I wanted to tell you that the remaining footage will contain several peaks inside of the abandoned Sears. The outdoor footage is over 8 minutes long with ambient sound and no music. I normally trim this down, but I became mesmerized by my footage while editing. Something about the winter weather, I just had to leave in the crunch of the snow, the sound of my boots as I clomped extra hard to avoid ice. I wanted others to hear the clang of the metal handrails as I held onto them for dear life while traversing the snow-covered steps. If you choose to bail now, I understand. After I say farewell, there will be no further narration, nor stinger scene. No prize for staying to the end, unless you consider the wintry footage a prize unto itself. I hope you have a good day. Take care.